shadow, it's biting at my heels, waiting for the moment when the metal meets the steel. I'm a killer in the making, a victim in the rain, caught in a crossfire, drowning in the pain.
By episode 24, The Vietnam War, A Generation Sacrificed. Hello, and welcome back to Boost Your English. Today, we delve into a crucial and somber chapter of American history, the Vietnam War. This conflict is often remembered for the profound generational wounds it inflicted and the moral questions it raised. Our goal is to gain an understanding of the historical causes and the devastating human cost, honoring the gravity of the sacrifices made. We will master the precise vocabulary needed to discuss war, policy, and societal division. Let's begin by examining the political context. The political causes and the doctrine. The Vietnam War, roughly 1955 to 1975, wasn't an isolated event, it was a devastating consequence of the Cold War. After World War II, the United States became committed to stopping the global spread of communism. Containment policy, this was the governing foreign policy. The idea was simple: communism had to be contained, or prevented from spreading, at all costs. The domino theory, this specific belief directly caused U.S. involvement in Vietnam. American policymakers genuinely feared that if South Vietnam fell to communism, the neighboring countries, Laos, Cambodia, would fall like a row of dominoes. This fear, though rooted in political doctrine, became the reason young men were sent to fight in a distant jungle. The U.S. initially supported South Vietnam with advisors, but by the mid-1960s, the escalation required massive ground forces. This shift relied heavily on a brutal system, the draft. The draft, conscription unlike today's all-volunteer forces, many young men were conscripted, forced into service through a lottery system. This created a generation gap, where students and workers were forced to abandon their lives, often against their will, to fight in a war many felt was fundamentally flawed. The reality of the jungle and command. The war on the ground was defined by its brutal environment and tactics. U.S. forces rarely faced conventional armies, they faced guerrilla warfare, small-scale, unconventional, and highly mobile attacks waged by the Viet Cong forces. The landscape, the fighting took place in dense, unforgiving jungle terrain. The heat, the rain, and the constant threat of ambush created a state of relentless psychological stress. Soldiers were often left isolated from clear command structures, leading to reliance on the immediate, on-the-ground judgment of small unit leaders, the captains and lieutenants who had to make life-or-death decisions without the luxury of hesitation, or wavering, from headquarters. The sacrifice, the issue of the young soldiers being sacrificed, is an essential element of this story. The average age of a U.S. soldier in Vietnam was just 19 years old. They were, effectively, children entrusted with burdens no adult should carry. Their loyalty to their peers, their platoon or squad, became the defining factor of survival, often superseding their faith in the distant, slow-moving commands made by generals and politicians thousands of miles away. The tragedy of abandonment, the feeling of abandonment extended beyond the battlefield. There are documented accounts of soldiers who felt betrayed by the public support back home and, tragically, by logistical failures. The sight of U.S. medical evacuation helicopters, medevac, or river patrol boats passing by the wounded or stranded because of poor communication or excessive adherence to protocol is a grim reality that highlights the consequences of policy failures. These were the moments where a soldier's faith in the system crumbled. The aftermath and legacy. The war didn't just end, it faded out in phases, leaving deep scars. Casualties. The war resulted in over 58,000 American casualties, deaths, and millions of Vietnamese casualties. The anti-war movement. Back home, the war triggered a massive anti-war movement. Protests became widespread, challenging the political establishment and further widening the generation gap between those who served and those who resisted the draft. Unacknowledged sacrifice. Many veterans returned home to a country that was deeply divided, feeling deeply misunderstood or even blamed for the war. This national lack of progress in accepting the veterans contributed to a serious crisis of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The simple phrase, "thank you for your service," was rarely heard. The true legacy of Vietnam is the lesson that political ideology and national accountability must always be weighed against the human cost. It remains a constant reminder of the young lives that were forever shattered not by an enemy, but by decisions made in faraway offices. This was a necessary and somber discussion. We've defined key vocabulary from containment policy and guerrilla warfare to the devastating human terms like draftees and casualties. Remember, understanding the root causes and the moral weight of history is essential for true fluency. Thank you for giving this subject the deep attention it deserves. I look forward to guiding your English boost in the next episode. Keep boosting your English. Bye for now.
Wagner screams from the choppers in the sky. Another day of watching my brothers die for a flag that's supposed to mean we're free. But this jungle's got